Okay, hello everybody. How are you? Okay, I hope everybody had a Shabbat Shalom, and if you're in Eretz Yisrael, you're enjoying the new time. Let's see how many people we can see are going to be watching. Okay, so we'll get a little crowd going here, and then we'll be able to start. So the first thing that I wanted to show you. This is the first thing, and today we're going to have a new surprise on our show that we've never had before. But the first thing I wanted to show you is, because it's such a clear day today, are the mountains all the way behind us. So I'm going to go a little closer with you so that you can see which mountains I'm talking about. But look here, and if you look, I'm hoping we could see it on our camera, but do you see how very close to us there are mountains? And then really far, far back, there are more mountains all the way over there. Those are very special mountains. And those mountains aren't even in Eretz Yisrael. That's a whole other country. Those mountains, this is the craziest thing. Those mountains are all the way in a place called Jordan. In Hebrew, it's called Yarden. And from my house, standing on my porch, this is why I wanted to show it to you, because standing on my porch, see, we're on my porch here, and there's the Moses houses. Standing on my porch, all the way over there, you can see the mountains of Jordan. You can see Yarden. From my house, you can see Jordan. You're looking at Jordan, and I don't know if you could see it. I wonder if you're allowed to zoom. Oh, you can zoom in. Oh, that's amazing. Look at that. Okay, now you can really see it. You see those mountains over there in the back? So those mountains, okay, those mountains back there are the Jordanian mountains. And those mountains, like I said, are a different country. But in the Chumash, we learn about those mountains. Though that's Hare Ammon. Now you'll say, wait a minute. That's Hare Ammon from the Chumash? And I'll tell you, yeah, now look how far it is. Watch this. Hold on. Okay, so, can we not get back? See? Okay, okay, so, well, in any case, we can see we have a good close-up picture. But those mountains are where Bnei Yisrael stood when they were looking at Eretz Yisrael. Here, I'll put so we get the shaking to stop here from my hand. This is where Bnei Yisrael stood when they were looking at Eretz Yisrael. Do you remember how Moshe Rabbeinu didn't get to go to Eretz Yisrael? And he had to stand on mountains and watch Eretz Yisrael. And he said to Hashem, please let me go in. And Hashem said, nope, sorry, you're not going to get to go into Eretz Yisrael. And Moshe could only stand on the mountaintops and look at Eretz Yisrael, that's where he was standing. He was standing on those mountains, and then he looked at Eretz Yisrael. There were no houses really. Okay, there wasn't like any houses here, but he got to see how beautiful Eretz Yisrael was. This is what he got to see. One day I'll learn how to use this properly, guys. But here we go. Okay, great. So this is what he got to see. So all of Eretz Yisrael, and he realized just how beautiful Eretz Yisrael was. And I wanted to show you this because I love where I live, and it's so beautiful because I get to see the things. Right, there it is. Again, that's where we were looking at before. Those mountains all the way over there. See where I'm pointing? The mountains in the back? Those are the mountains. And there were people that used to live there. They were the nation of Ammon. They were Ammon. And they would live there. And they saw Bnei Yisrael coming. And they saw Bnei Yisrael wanted to come into Eretz Yisrael. And Yisrael, you can't come in. Sorry, we're not going to let you cross into our land. And Bnei Yisrael said, we're not going to hurt you. In fact, we'll buy some of your bread and some of your treats and some of your food we'll buy from you. And they said, nope, sorry, you're not going to come in. And then they started to fight against Bnei Yisrael. So Bnei Yisrael said, listen, we tried to be your friends, but if you're not going to let us, then that's it. So they conquered Bnei Yisrael. And then Bnei Yisrael stood on those mountains, and they stood on the mountains, and they davened to Hashem, and they looked at Eretz Yisrael, and Rabbeinu said, I'm going to give you one last speech. I'm going to stand in these mountains. I'm going to stand, and you're going to see Eretz Yisrael. Standing now, and I'm going to give you one last speech, and that last speech was the entire Sefer Dvar. I take out a map when I study a Chumash. That's right, I don't take out a map. I open my door, and I walk outside onto my porch, and I look outside, and I see what the Chumash was talking about. That's why it's so special for me to live in Eretz Yisrael, and especially in this town. Do you remember what it's called? Mitzpeh Yericho, because there's so much history and so much Torah that happened right where I can see from. And I wanted to share that with you because when we have something special, especially something that we know from the Torah, we love to share it. And it's really important to share it and to let other people have the good things that we have. So I don't have candy that I can give you, and I don't have any other treats that I can give you or toys that I can give you, but what I can give you is to tell you the beauty of Eretz Yisrael, and especially where I live here in Eretz Yisrael. And I want you to have that beauty also. So imagine this is like me giving you the beauty of Eretz Yisrael that you can see it. And maybe one day you'll come and visit me here. And I would love that. Okay, we have guests. We used to have guests all the time, but now that we're trying to stay healthy, we have to make sure that we don't have so many guests. But that's the beautiful part of living where we live. Okay. Do you guys want to hear a story? Like a really, really good story? I'll tell you a really, really great story. The story is about someone very special. A big Talmid Chacham. And this big Talmid Chacham used to go to the Shuk in Eretz Yisrael all the time. Not the Shuk that we have today. That's a different Shuk. But a Shuk like it. He used to go to this Shuk all the time. And there was different stuff you could buy there. You could buy meat there. You could buy vegetables, food, different things you could buy. But there was a special guest that used to come to this Shuk every single day. The special guest was Eliyahu Hanavi. Eliyahu Hanavi would come from Shemayim to this Shuk every day. Why he came to that Shuk? I'm not sure. I don't know why. But he would go to this Shuk all the time. He would go to the Shuk. And one time, our Talmid Chacham from our story walked up to Eliyahu and asked him a very interesting question. Think about if you saw Eliyahu, what you would ask Eliyahu. And then I'll tell you what this Talmid Chacham asked Eliyahu. This Talmid Chacham asked Eliyahu, he said, Eliyahu, you know a lot, and you're in Shemayim. And we know that when there are tzaddikim that do the right thing, and their whole lives they're tzaddikim, then after their lives they go to a place called Olam Haba. And I want to know, who in this Shuk is going to go to Olam Haba? What he was asking him was, who in this Shuk is a big tzaddik? That's what I want to know. Who's a big tzaddik? And Eliyahu looked around. And he looked around, and he said, no one. He said, no one? That's so sad. No one in this Shuk is a big enough tzaddik to go to Olam Haba? He said, nope. Oh, wait. There's someone. He's going to Olam Haba. So our Talmid Chacham looked at Eliyahu Hanavi and he said, he's going to Olam Haba? He said, yes. Why are you so surprised? And he said, well, to tell you the truth, all the Jews in our time dress a certain way. The men wear tzitzis, they have a kippah, and they don't wear black clothes. That was then. There's nothing wrong with wearing black clothes today, but then Jews didn't wear black clothes. He said, that person doesn't have tzitzis, doesn't have a kippah, and he's wearing black clothes. So how is he going to Olam Haba? How is he such a big tzaddik? Eliyahu said, you got to ask him. So he ran over to him. And he kind of tapped him on the shoulder. He said, excuse me, can I ask you a question? So he said, what? He looked, he was very rushed. He said, what? What can I ask you? How can I help you? What do you need? So he said, I think you're a hidden tzaddik, and I think you're going to Olam Haba, and I know somebody who knows, and he told me. He said, why are you such a big tzaddik? He said, I don't have time to talk to you right now. Come to me tomorrow, I'll meet you here. So, our Talmid Chacham waited until the next day, came back to the Shuk, looked around, and after a little while, finally, our man in black, who was not wearing tzitzis again, not wearing kippah, walks into the Shuk. So, our Talmid Chacham runs over to him. And he says, I have a question for you. He says, okay, I have a couple of minutes for you now. So he said, I want to know. He said, yesterday, Eliyahu Hanavi was here. And Eliyahu Hanavi said I could ask him a question. And I asked him a question. I said, who in this Shuk is such a big Talmid Chacham that he's going to get to go to Olam Haba? And Eliyahu looked around and he said, no one. But then you came to the Shuk. And Eliyahu pointed to you and said, that man is a Talmid Chacham. That man's a tzaddik. That man is a big enough tzaddik to go to Olam Haba. And I looked at you and I said, you're not wearing tzitzis, you're not wearing a kippah, and you're not dressed like a Jew. So how are you such a big tzaddik that you're going to go to Olam Haba? And then I went over to you and I asked you, and you were in such a rush, you didn't even answer my question. You said, come back tomorrow. You weren't even that nice about it, truth be told. So the man said, well, I don't know. So he said, no. You're not going to get away with telling me I don't know. There's something that you're doing that makes you a big tzaddik. What do you do? So he said, he didn't want to tell him. So he pushed him. Not really pushed him, but he said, come on, tell me. And he said, no, I'm not going to tell you. He said, no, you have to tell me. You have to tell me. So he said, I'm not going to tell you. So finally, he pushed him, and said, fine, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what I do for my job. He said, okay, what do you do for your job? So he said, I work in a jail. A jail? That's where a lot of bad people are. He said, that's where the worst people are. The worst people are in jail. Because in order to go to jail, they had to do something bad. So he said, okay, so why are you such a tzaddik if you work in a jail? So he said, I'll tell you. He said, I work in a jail, and the people there always want to do bad things. They always want to do bad things. And since they always want to do bad things, I have to make sure they don't. So he said, okay, well, how do you make sure they don't do bad things? So he said, I'll tell you how. I sleep every night with the inmates, with the prisoners in the jail. He said, you do what? So he said, I sleep there. He said, you sleep in the jail? That makes you like a prisoner. So he said, yes, but I can leave whenever I want. Like now I'm not in the jail. But at night, that's when they're going to really do the bad things. Maybe they'll hurt each other, or they'll say really not nice things to each other, or they'll try to get out of jail. So I sleep in the jail. So he said, every night you don't sleep with your family? He said, every night I sleep in the jail and I don't get to sleep with my family because I want to make sure that the bad people don't do anything that's even worse. So he said, well, that's a big sacrifice. You do a lot to make sure people don't do bad. Now I see why Eliyahu thinks you're such a tzaddik. Because you're not with your family, you're making sure that people aren't doing things that are bad. He said, yup. He said, but I don't know if that's enough. There's got to be something else. What else are you doing? So he said, well, I'll tell you something else that I do. He said, since I work in the jail, a lot of bad people that are trying to do bad things to Jews think that I'm not a Jew. And they try to get me to also do bad things to the Jews, and they tell me their plans. And then I quickly go to the Jewish rabbis, to the leaders of the Jewish people, and I tell them what's about to happen, and that way they can protect themselves. So he said, wow. He said, you must save a lot of Jewish lives. He said, I've saved almost all the Jewish lives in this area because the bad people are always trying to do things, trying to do bad things to Jewish people, and I stop them. So he said, wait a minute. Hold on a second. How do they not know that you are a Jew too? Why do they think you're not a Jew? So he said, I'll answer your question, and that'll even answer some of your other questions. You wanted to know why I wasn't wearing a kippah, and why I wasn't wearing tzitzis, and why I was dressed in black, not like the Jews. And now you know. Because if I dressed like a Jew, the bad people would never trust me. And they would never tell me what they were trying to do to the Jews. So I dress like them, and they never suspect, they never think that I am not one of them and I'm a Jew. So they tell me everything. And that's why I can run to the rabbis and tell them everything. So our Talmid Chacham was sitting there and he was thinking, he says, wow, that's two things that make you a tzaddik. So he said, wait a minute, how come yesterday when I ran over to you and I asked you a question, how come you didn't tell me these answers right away? You pushed me off. You said, oh, go away, I don't have time for you today. Oh, I'll speak to you tomorrow maybe. And you were very rude, actually. How come you were so rude to me? So he said, well, I'll tell you, but it has to be a secret between me and you. So he said, okay, I can keep a secret. Tell me. So he said, well, here's the reason I was so rude to you yesterday. Yesterday you came over to me and asked me a question, and I was in a rush because the bad people had just told me about something that they were planning to do to the Jewish people, which would have hurt a lot of Jewish people. It would have hurt a lot of them, some of them really badly. And I had to go run and tell the rabbis. And as I'm running to tell the rabbis to warn them that something bad's about to happen to the Jewish people, you came over to me in the Shuk and you shook me and you said, oh, I have to ask you a question. So I said, maybe his question is also very important. So I stopped. And then you asked me a question about why I'm such a tzaddik and blah, 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 all this stuff. I'm sorry. It wasn't nearly as important as saving a lot of Jewish people's lives. That was much more important. So I had to be a little rude to you, and I'm sorry, but I thought it was important enough to save the Jewish people. And now you know why Eliyahu thinks I'm such a tzaddik, and now you know why I don't dress like a Jewish person, and now you know why I don't have tzitzis, and why I don't have a kippah on, and why I wear different clothing than the Jewish people, and now you know why I was rude to you. It wasn't because I'm mean. It wasn't because I don't want to dress like a Jew. It wasn't because of any other reason other than I tried to save Jewish lives. And I try to make sure that even bad people don't do bad things, which is why I sleep in the jail every single night. And that is why probably Eliyahu Hanavi thought and thinks that I'm such a big tzaddik that I'm going to go to Olam Haba. But I'll tell you the truth, I don't think I'm such a big tzaddik. And really, if we think about the lesson from this story, what does it teach us? What can we learn from that lesson? The truth is, we see a lot of people, and we see a lot of people every single day. And we look at the people, and we don't know if they're really tzaddikim. And sometimes we look at them, and they're not dressed like tzaddikim, and maybe they're not acting like tzaddikim, but we don't know what's really going on in their lives. Maybe they're a tzaddik like this man in the Shuk, who was walking around and didn't look like a tzaddik, didn't act like a tzaddik, but he was really a very big tzaddik. So when we see somebody, we shouldn't, I'm going to teach you a new phrase, jump to conclusions. Doesn't mean literally jump, but it means that we shouldn't decide right away that the person's not a tzaddik. It could be the person standing next to us, even if he was a little rude, was really a tzaddik. We don't know. And we should maybe treat everybody as if they were a tzaddik in the Shuk, because maybe they are. Who knows? Okay, that's our story, and that's a great lesson. And now I want to show you something special that I have. It's very special to me. You have this in your house probably, right? But it might not be the same as mine. I'm going to show it to you. You can probably see it already. Here it is. It looks like just a cup, but now I'm going to bring it close. It's a white cup, and it's made out of ceramic, and I'm going to tell you what it is. because it doesn't look like the kind that everybody else has. This is my Kiddush cup. And you'll say, wait a minute. Most Kiddush cups are silver, or they have colors on them, or other things. What's so special about your Kiddush cup? Well, I'll tell you. My Kiddush cup I use every Leil Shabbat and every Shabbat morning, on Friday night and on Shabbat morning, and I make Kiddush with it. Sometimes I make Havdalah with it also. And I stand up and I hold my cup like this. This is the way you're supposed to hold it close when you make Kiddush. And I say special tefillot and special brachot. And I talk about how Shabbos is so special and Hashem is so special for making Shabbat. And how we remember that Hashem not only made Shabbat, but He also took us out of Mitzrayim and brought us right over here, right? And this Kiddush cup, though, is special to me for another reason. I had a friend when I used to live in America in a place called Beverly Hills in Los Angeles in California. And I had a friend who was a rabbi, and his name was Rabbi Daniel Arnal. He was a big tzaddik. When I say tzaddik, you don't know what a tzaddik he was. His whole house was guests, and his whole life was tzaddikim. Was guests and chesed and having everybody at his house over. He was a big tzaddik, and him and his Rebbitzin are big tzaddikim. I mean, really big tzaddikim. And they had guests over. And every Sunday morning, they did something fun together. They would go and make things out of ceramic. They would make plates and cups. And he asked me once, what can I make you that's special? And I said, I want a lot of Kiddush cups that are unique and different than any other Kiddush cups in the world. And he made me these Kiddush cups. And unfortunately, Rabbi Arnal he's not around. He died. And I miss him a lot. But every Friday night and every Shabbat morning, I get to make Kiddush with his Kiddush cup. And that's why these Kiddush cups are so special to me. I have a lot of them like this. Some of them have colors. Some of them be made with colors. And some of them be made smaller. And some of them be made bigger. And they're really, really special to me. And he made me some special for Pesach so I could use on Pesach. And he made some special for Shabbat so I could use it on Shabbat. And I really miss him. But I remember this Kiddush cup that he gave me. And I wanted to show it to you because I wanted you to see what's special that I have. So that's this Kiddush cup. Okay? That's our show and tell today. Now today, I have one thing that's special. We're going to try something new on our show. There are two little boys and their Abba and their dad who sent me a video when they had a question. And I'm going to try to play the video for you so you could see it. Do you guys want to try this? And hear you. Should we try this? Yes? Okay. Here we go. We're going to do this, what's called low-tech. Here we go. I'm going to bring over my computer really close, and let's see if we can watch and hear their question. Let's see.
But Mendel and Baruch have a question for you, and here's their question. Go ahead, Mendel.
What's your favorite parsha? My favorite parsha is Shuk because I like when we start the parsha. I just get so excited. So I'm like, yeah.
What's your question, Baruch?
Breshit.
Breshit?
Yeah.
Okay. Hope you answer our question tomorrow night in the story. Bye.
Okay, that was Mendel and Baruch. And Mendel and Baruch asked me what my favorite parsha in the Torah is. Their favorite parsha is Bereshit, and that makes sense because they said they're so excited whenever they start the Torah all over again, the first parsha is Bereshit. So their favorite parsha is Bereshit. I'll tell you my favorite parsha. Bereshit's one of them, but I'll tell you my favorite parsha is Vayigash. And I'll tell you why it's Vayigash. Because when I turned 13 and it was my bar mitzvah, Vayigash was my bar mitzvah parsha. And I studied Vayigash for a whole year. And I know a lot of it by heart, even though today, wow, it's been 30 years since my bar mitzvah. I didn't even realize that. Well, I'm getting very old. But even though it's 30 years since my bar mitzvah, I still remember a lot of it. And I worked really, really hard to learn how to read it. And I got up in front of the whole shul and I read Vayigash. And I was scared. But I did a good job, I think. I don't remember. It was so long ago. And that's also a good thing, because as long as you try, it doesn't really matter if you didn't do such a great job. But I think I did a good enough job. And it was my bar mitzvah. And every year on Vayigash, I remember my bar mitzvah. I really like my bar mitzvah. My parents did a lot to make my bar mitzvah really special, and it was really special. My friends came, and my rebbeim came, and it was really, really special. So my favorite parsha, I have to say, Breshit's up there, but Vayigash is my favorite parsha. Well, guys, that's all the time that we have for today. I will see you guys tomorrow. In Eretz Yisrael, we're at a new time at 6:30 tomorrow. And in everywhere else in the world, we're at the same time we always were. Okay, guys, have a great day and stay healthy. Shalom to all.